Hello, I'm Kelly, and this is Kelly Loves Books and Movies. Today, got my notes. We are going to talk about It Ends With Us, both the book and the movie. How they compare, does it work, all that jazz. I read the book about a month ago or so in preparation, knowing the movie was coming out. And I knew I was going to want to see the movie, so I went and read the book. And then I saw the movie just a couple of days ago. So I remember most of the book, but even if it had a month, it's a little fuzzy. But yeah, I also read a lot of the online discourse that has been going around about all the behind the scenes stuff of making the movie, and I have no clue. So I am not going to talk about that at all because who knows what is going on there. And it really has nothing to do with the movie itself. So I will not be addressing all that controversy. All right, first of all, um, overall, both the book and the movie, I didn't love, but I didn't hate. I kind of am somewhere in the middle. They certainly were parts I liked and parts I didn't like. And overall, I would say, if you are even the slightest bit interested in either, give it a go. All right. Both talk about, obviously, because the main topic of both the book and the movie is domestic violence and how, that affects relationships, families, and all that. And I think that's important because maybe it's just the things current popular culture, I maybe am not up on what the kids are into today, but I feel like that it was more of a big issue in books and movies and just talking in general in maybe like the 80s. It was, lots of things covered the topic. And I think, I guess it's cyclical. Everything kind of comes around again. And I felt, after the 80s, it probably wasn't as huge of a deal. It probably wasn't a huge topic that's been discussed. But now, this comes, first the book came out in what, 20 something, 2016, 17, something like that. So I think the issue's coming around again. And it's an important issue to talk about. And so I think that the book and the movie do that, and as popular as it is a good thing. Overall, just quick, the biggest differences in the book and the movie. They're older in the movie, the ages, which in the book seemed weird for what they were doing. Not necessarily what they were doing, but they just seemed really young for the things that they were doing in their life. Like buying a... Ryle seemed kind of young to be a neurosurgeon. Lily just barely out of college and running her own business, which, is not unheard of, but still, they seemed kind of young. But that, I'll get back to that in a minute. But then in the movie, they're like mid-30s. So that was one thing I was kind of wondering, because I'm like, back, after I read the book, I'm like, well, like, Blake Lively's like 40-ish, and she's playing a 23-year-old? What? How are they going to make that work? But no, they just aged up the people in the movie, which was good and bad. First of all, I feel like it worked in the book that they were younger because Lily's relationship with Atlas was closer in time. So like if you had your relationship at 16 is still probably a pretty big thing in your mind at 23. It's still a lot still compares to it. But when you're in your mid 30s, your 16-year-old relationship shouldn't, for the most part, you've lived a lot of life between then, and I don't know how, who knows? It happens, but still, I felt like, especially for Atlas, the whole, you're now in your mid-30s, and you're this is a girl, he was like 17, 18, but still, like, you're, move on, dude. That's all I'm saying. I mean, at 23, that's one thing, but at 35, come on, let's let this one go. And I mean, so yeah, their ages, it's, overall it worked better in the movie than the book. So I think that was an improvement. The movie also makes it seem like the violent episodes that happen, like, the movie makes it seem like she didn't at first, she didn't really, she thought they were accidents, like she couldn't even, and in the book that's not the case at all. Like, from the beginning, she was like, yo, this can't happen, get some therapy, you do this again and we're gonna have some problems. And the movie kind of brushes it off until later. You see, through a flashback, she realizes, oh, this wasn't just an accident kind of thing. All these things adding up. So that's a little different in the way of handling things. I mean, it makes you not, I think in the movie then you are maybe more sympathetic to Ryle in the movie than you might be in the book, because in the book it happens and it's like, stop, no more, And then in the movie you're like, oh, maybe, because the first thing when he burns his hand when he's making that frittata or whatever, I was like, wait, and in the actual scene, it does look like an accident. And I'm like, wait a minute, what are they doing here? This wasn't an accident. What the heck? But then, yeah, later you do go on, and in her flashback you see that it was not an accident, and she was just kind of, at the time, probably in her mind, trying to, rationalize things away. So those are some big differences. The movie completely cuts out the whole letters to Ellen thing, which is fine. Certainly in the interest of time, but I think cutting them out also doesn't allow you to really get to know that Atlas and Lily relationship when they're younger. So in the movie, it's just kind of like, oh, her crush that her dad beat up. I mean, yeah. And I think that the book, you really get to know that relationship a little more and its importance. Okay. Those are kind of the biggest issues, or differences. There are a lot of little things, like the timelines are kind of switched around a little bit in places. Obviously, characters are left out, and I think most of those are fine. They're minor. It really doesn't affect the story overall one way or another. Yeah. All right, my biggest things I had problems with in both the book and the movie is that I don't really like any of the characters. I mean, maybe except for the sister-in-law, Ryle's sister. She's awesome in the book and the movie. Jenny Slate, perfection. Absolutely great in the movie. But yeah, I don't really like them. I don't know why. I mean, obviously you're not supposed to like Ryle. I mean, he's an abusive jerk. But again, in the movie, they kind of make it you try to like him for a while, and then boom, you're not supposed to like him anymore, and that's fine. It's It's just a stylistic choice. Ultimately, he's the bad guy. The other thing, this is both the book and the movie, and it's probably not a big deal, but it's just something that I kept wondering about. Okay, so Atlas get the crap beaten out of him so badly he has to be in the hospital recovering by Lily's dad. But we don't really hear anything else about it. It's a small town. Didn't he go to... I mean, it seemed like there were zero consequences for that, even within the family, or even criminally, civilly. He beat the crap out of a kid. I mean, and he was like, wasn't I could be misremembering, but was he not like he was prominent in his small town, and he was like maybe the mayor or something? Like, would this not be like a big scandal? I think it would be, and it's just kind of brushed off. Maybe you don't really. I mean, that could be a whole story on its own, probably. All right. So yeah, it's not in the movie. It's not in the book. Other than basically, he got beat up. Ultimately, do I think the movie is a good adaptation of the book? And I do. There are the minor issues and my issues with the story overall, but like, it's pretty faithful. I mean, other than cutting out the Ellen stuff, it's a pretty faithful adaptation. For the main points. Like, obviously, little things here and there are different, like the timeline and everything, but you really get the gist of the book in the movie. And I think if you like the book, you will probably like the movie. If you don't like the book, you probably aren't going to like the movie. Obviously, there are things you could, any adaptation from book to the movie, there's going to be different things. But I think they were both, good. It's a good adaptation. Pretty faithful, minor issues. Yeah. The timeline changes a little bit. The movie's a little more open-ended, so they can have a sequel. Because, I mean, there is a sequel book, and the two book sequels are quite far apart in time from when one was published to the other. So maybe at the time of the writing of the first one, she didn't think of writing a sequel, but there's a sequel. Both book, and I'm sure there's going to be a sequel in the movie, because this movie made like $50 million its opening weekend, which is amazing for like a woman's film. Like, yeah, that's so stupid to call it that, but still, in today's day, I mean, I went to like a 6 o'clock on a Monday, and it was pretty full. So yeah, this movie's doing well, which is good. Hopefully it means more good movies that aren't superhero movies are going to get made. Nothing wrong with superhero movies. I like them too. I just like a lot of variety in my movie-going experience. And hopefully this helps give us more variety in our movie-going experience. So, do I think you should see them? Sure, why not? See them, read them, give it a try. It covers, it does bring up an important issue that I don't think is discussed a lot nowadays in, conversation. So, yeah, see it, read it, and then tell me what you think. Did you think the differences are too big of a deal? I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching. See y'all next time.